Hey there gang, Kawaii Fibo here with another Honkai Star Rail video, and it's time to talk about one of my favorite characters in the game, and this applies to both a gameplay perspective as well as a story perspective. I absolutely adore this man. I think Jin Yuan has finally been dethroned. I'm of course talking about one of the best characters of Penacony, Aventurine. We're going to be going over Aventurine's best allies, light cones, relics, the whole shebang. So if you ended up summoning this guy, which I've seen a lot of E6s on Twitter, y'all might want to slow down, you will be able to effectively use him in a variety of teams. Hopefully this video ends up helping you out. If it does, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing. Any of those things or all of the above will all help me as we try to get to 10,000 subs by the end of the year, and I really think we can do it. Alright, let's go and talk about Aventurine's kit. So already as a preservation character, Aventurine can be easily slotted into essentially any team as their primary source of sustain. The main way he accomplishes this is with his skill Cornerstone Deluxe. This provides all allies with a shield that at level 10, and all of these we're going to be looking at are at level 10, can block damage equal to 24% of Aventurine's defense plus 320, lasting for 3 turns. What is most important about this skill is the fact that it can stack, giving allies up to 200% of the shield. This is incredibly effective and also ends up making Aventurine fairly SP efficient, because if you end up stacking enough shields, there are chances you can just use Aventurine's standard single target attack rather than worrying about consistently stocking up defense. As you go and see your Aventurine grow and begin to get more levels and skills, better relics, better stats, you are going to end up running into this situation quite frequently. A lot of this is also benefited off of Aventurine's talent Shot Loaded Right. This gives an ally's 50% effect res increase. When that character gets attacked, Aventurine gets 1 point of blind bet. When Aventurine has Fortified Wager, he can resist crowd control debuffs. This event triggers after 2 turns again, and Aventurine additionally gains 1 point of blind bet upon being attacked. Upon reaching 7 points, Aventurine will consume all 7 to launch a 7-hit follow-up attack, and all of the damage from this follow-up attack completely scales off of defense. So not only is Aventurine a character that is able to protect his allies, he can also attack his enemy with piles of unneeded money, and all of the damage this money deals scales off of defense, the stat that we want to see on a tanky character. So no hybrid builds are necessary here. Aventurine's damage is all based off of the most important stat a tank could ask for. Aventurine also gets a nice bonus in the effect of Roulette Shark, his ultimate. This will randomly give you additional points of blind bet, and it will also inflict a status debuff. Keep this in mind, this will become important later. Unnerved is going to last on an enemy for 3 turns, and when an unnerved enemy is hit, the crit damage they take is increased by 15%. So Aventurine is providing shields, he is providing damage, and he is providing additional critical damage for everyone involved. Now Aventurine's Eidolons, while solid, aren't as necessary as getting high Eidolon levels for other characters. I'm looking at you, E2 Acheron, so let's go ahead and take a look at them in order of importance. I would say Aventurine's likely most important Eidolon is the first one, Prisoner's Dilemma. This increases his critical damage by 20% and a 20% boost for actually all allies with Fortified Wager. After Aventurine uses his ultimate, all allies get a Fortified Wager shield, and the shield effect is equal to 100% of whatever the skill would provide. This allows your Aventurine to be even more skill point efficient, allowing him to stack shields with his ultimate as well as his skill. It is very, very neat. Following that, I would definitely say that E4 would be the next most important one, Unexpected Hanging Paradox. When Aventurine triggers his follow-up attack, it's going to increase his defense by 40% for 2 turns. Now if you remember, all of his damage scales off his defense, and his talent's follow-up attack will also get some extra hits per action, so it'll hit more, which will in turn deal more damage. Following E4, I would say E6 is the next most important one. Stag Hunt Game makes it so for every ally with a shield, Aventurine gets an extra 50% damage, stacking up to 150%, just allowing those follow-up attacks to get a little more oomph. And finally, E2, Bounded Rationality. When Aventurine uses a basic attack, The target's all-type resistance is reduced by 12% for 3 turns, a nice little bit of stacking that synergizes well with Ron May. When it comes to relics and planetary sets, does Aventurine deserve everything? Yes, the answer is yes, but what are the best relics and planetary sets that he can use? I would say the absolute best bet for everyone is going to be Knight of Purity Palace. I just went and poached this straight off of my Japard and threw it straight on Aventurine. Sorry Japard, you've kind of been outclassed at this point by this man. I don't think anyone will argue with me at that. Knight of Purity Palace grants 15% defense with 2 pieces, and with 4 pieces, the max damage that Aventurine shields can absorb is going to go up by another 20%. When it comes to planetary sets, that is going to entirely depend on your team, the primary team that you put your Aventurine on. I am mainly using my Aventurine right now on my Acheron team, so I have him equipped with Broken Keel. This increases his effect res by 10%. When the wearer's effect res is 30% or higher, all allies' critical damage is increased by 10%. It's very easy for Aventurine to just hit this threshold with just his own traces and skills. He doesn't actually need any effect resistance boost on any of his equipment. If you're using Aventurine in a follow-up attack team, however, you're going to want to go ahead and give him Inert Salsodo. This increases his crit rate by 8%, and when his crit rate reaches 50% or higher, his ultimate and follow-up attack damage will go up by another 15%. And when it comes to our scaling on all of these relics, Aventurine is very, very simple. You want a defense body, you want your speed boots, you want a defense planar sphere, and you want a defense link rope. Our goal with Aventurine is to get as close to 4,000 defense as possible. This is the golden number for this character. After that, you'll want to try and get up to at least 134 speed, and then you can focus on crit damage, crit rate, and even, if you want, a little bit of effect resistance to boot. HP is nice, as always, on basically any character, but it is not nearly as important on Aventurine, who is able to create so many shields at will. And those defense boosts increase his overall damage. So that's another case to be made for stacking purely defense over HP percentage. Aventurine's best light cone is the case of every single character released in Star Rail so far that got their own signature light cone. The signature is the best. This gives him a colossal defense boost and also further boosts his critical damage. It also has the ability to apply a debuff to Aventurine's enemies. This debuff is going to be catastrophically effective if Aventurine is in a team with either Acheron or Dr. Ratio, because debuffs cast on the opponent are going to allow them to deal even more damage. With Inherently Unjust Destiny equipped, I would say you would easily be able to even swap out Aventurine's chest piece for a critical damage chest piece, if you're feeling a little bit spicy. That is entirely up to you though. If you don't have Inherently Unjust Destiny, Moment of Victory can be another great pick in a standard team. This offers a solid defense boost and is just a great taunt for Aventurine, which allows him to build up stacks to hit his opponents with follow-up attacks. Now, barring both of those, don't worry, there are still other options. Concert for 2 is great. This has a pretty solid base defense, gets even better when you eventually get to S5, and provides a great damage boost to Aventurine. So you might want to consider using this if you lack both of those gold options. Now, if you're playing on an Acheron team, however, there is one specific golden light cone that you are absolutely going to want. Now, I say golden, but the rarity of this is purple. Trend of the Universal Market. Whoever your tank is supporting Acheron, you need this light cone on them immediately. This allows Acheron to get further stacks for her ultimate, because whenever the tank gets hit with an attack, it gives the enemy a debuff, which then allows Acheron to inch ever closer to her ultimate. This also has a solid defense boost, but really you're not going to want this over any other light cone in any other situation. Only focus on using this if you're pairing Aventurine with Acheron. Now, being a tank, Aventurine can fit into any team like I said earlier, but there are 2 characters that we've already mentioned that are his absolute best options, and those are Acheron and Dr. Ratio. Acheron and Dr. Ratio both benefit from Aventurine's debuff that he is able to inflict on his opponents, and will allow them to either use their follow-up attack in the case of Dr. Ratio, or use their ultimate faster in terms of Acheron. However, additionally, we have another very important thing for a Dr. Ratio team specifically. Aventurine himself also is able to hit with follow-up attacks, and the damage is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. If you're running through Simulated Universe, Golden Gears, Swarm Disaster, basically anything, you can make a pretty powerful Elation follow-up attack team with Aventurine, Dr. Ratio, Topaz, and Ron May. In fact, right now at the time of this video, this is one of the top 20 teams in rankings for Memory of Chaos. So if you happen to have all 4 of these characters, you might want to go ahead and do that. And if you missed out on Topaz the first time that she ran, well, maybe you should rectify your mistake and get a Topaz when she eventually gets her rerun. Because I've tested this team myself, and even though it is not necessarily built all the way through, it has the potential to be disgusting. I can't wait to do more Golden Gears runs with this team specifically. However, I will say, to the benefit of Acheron's team, I went through a hardest difficulty Golden Gears run, not 12 yet, don't worry, we'll get there, but I went into a very hard difficulty Golden Gears run. I went through some Memory of Chaos with an Acheron, Aventurine, Pela, and Sparkle team, and it was absolutely trivialized. I legitimately thought I was just doing farming content with that team. So that, of course, is another very important thing to consider. Just remember, again, trend of the universal market with the Acheron team. My Acheron was E2, which is a disclaimer, but that doesn't change the fact that the support Aventurine provided, and the continuous stacking shields, especially being on the preservation path in that, made it so none of my characters took any damage throughout the entire duration of the run. And I've got to say, that's very, very impressive. Of course, if you don't have either of these two teams, again, Aventurine's a preservation character, he's a sustain character, he can basically work as your main sustain for any team you want to build in the game. Overall, gang, I am insanely impressed with Aventurine. There used to be one undisputed queen of sustain in Honkai Star Rail, and that was Fu Zhuan. And now with the arrival of Aventurine, we now have 2 options. This is incredibly exciting. I would say either of these characters are going to be your best option for sustain in the entire game, and I expect to see a slew of Memory of Chaos teams in the future where one team uses Aventurine and one team uses Fu Zhuan. Now, if you happen to have both of these characters, it may end up making you feel a tinge of regret for pulling them. I know I've started to feel it this way, because I just have stopped considering absolutely every other sustain option I have in the game. I mean, I will go ahead and pull some of them if I want to have fun with, like, say, Fire Trailblazer, with Huohuo, with Luocha, have some cool fun with Gallagher, because I think he's a super neat guy, but Aventurine, if you're looking at a pure meta standpoint, there is absolutely no, or at the most, very few reasons to run anyone else other than Aventurine and Fu Zhuan. I am both excited at how he's been introduced into the game with this kit, but I am also scared, because if this is the kind of setup we're getting in Star Rail, what are we going to have to fight that necessitates this level of protection? But of course, I want to know what you all think. Let me know your thoughts on Aventurine down in the comment section below. And let me know if you think there are any light cones, any teams, anything I might have missed. Or if you just really like Aventurine, just choose to gush about the character down in the comment section. Let me know how many copies you pulled. Let me know what your favorite Aventurine story moment was. Basically, anything you want to say about the character is 100% fair game in the comments. As you head down there, be sure to check out the Discord, Patreon, and Ko-fi. Huge thanks to everyone on all of those platforms for your support, and a massive thanks to you for watching until the end of the video. I really do appreciate that. But anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I will see you all in the next one.